Hello everyone, welcome to What's Happening in Brazil. Let's start by taking a look at the most recent and relevant news from the country.
On July 24th, the Liberal Party officially launched Jair Bolsonaro's candidacy for re-election. At the event, it was announced General Braga Neto as the vice president candidate. Braga Neto had minister posts in Bolsonaro government. The party's convention took place in Rio de Janeiro. It was attended by allied politicians, evangelical pastors, and Michelle Bolsonaro, the president's wife, who addressed the speech. The idea is to persuade female voters, a group in which Bolsonaro has a high rejection rate. During his speech at the event, Bolsonaro attacked once again the Supreme Court's ministers and encouraged his supporters to go to the streets on September 7th, when it celebrated Brazil's Independence Day. Last year, the day was marked by manifestations with an obvious coup tone. To experts, the recent speech implies that Bolsonaro intends to insist on tactics to disbelieve the democratic institutions. A recently released electoral poll shows that Lula's advantage over Bolsonaro increased. According to the poll hired by BTG Pactual Bank and released on July 25th, Lula is 13 percentage points ahead of current President Bolsonaro regarding voter support for the first round, 44% against 31%. In the previous survey, the difference was 9 percentage points. Lula had 41% of voter support and Bolsonaro had 32%. In a likely second round between the two candidates, Lula has 54% of voter support, while Bolsonaro has 36%. The margin of error is plus or minus 2 percentage points.
Minerals are a source of money, but in Brazil, the cities and towns that profit most from mining have families living under conditions of extreme poverty. That's what shows a recently released survey.
On the one hand, exorbitant profits. On the other, cases of destruction, exploitation, and misery. The mining contradictions are the subject of the Looking to CFEM project, the abbreviation for Financial Compensation for Mineral Exploration. To researchers, this compensation should stimulate the local economy and contribute to reducing poverty, but it is not being directed to the places where it should be directed to.
The mining model concentrates income. It remunerates shareholders and people outside the city or town, and also people abroad. That is, it does not pay the local economy. It is not up to CFEM to fix these issues, but using this feature could help mitigate them. It could stimulate the local economy and contribute to poverty reduction.
Among the 3 municipalities that raised the highest values in funds from CFEM in 2021, Parauapebas and Pará State is on the top of the list with 2.4 billion reais. At the same time, it has the largest number of families in extreme poverty, 15,607. In the most mined municipality in the country, only 45.7% of the population has access to basic sanitation and only 27.3% have formal employment. Researchers evaluated that the disparity, among other factors, is related to the lack of transparency in the use of financial resources and also the lack of public policies aimed at low-income populations.
Although there are laws such as the one determining city halls to make public how this resource is used, it has not been happening.
The project draws attention to the fact that if the mineral resources are owned by the state, their exploitation and profits should benefit all of the country, particularly the communities that are harmed by this activity.
After mapping the situation, I think the resources can be directed, for instance, to policies that stimulate the local economy, which can generate income for these families despite mining. It can bring more investments in health and education in certain locations, among other actions that communities, after being consulted, demand.
Carolina Maria de Jesus, Maria Firmina dos Reis, Conceição Evaristo. The Brazilian literature is full of black women's writings. However, they are still less known and read than white men. Now, a new generation of female authors wants to change this scenario.
Times come when madness merges with solitude, and many times I saw myself wandering with no destination. I'm afraid they remember we came from far away and we need to continue. Who can calm down this maelstrom of being a black woman?
Pode acalmar esse redemoinho de ser mulher preta.
The poem is an excerpt from the book Who Can Calm Down This Maelstrom of Being a Black Woman by writer Elisandra Souza. Journalist and poet, Elisandra is one of the many Brazilian black female writers. These voices often do not receive the acknowledgement they deserve.
Então é importante porque a gente...
It's important because we diversify the narratives. We understand Brazil as a plural country, not a single-story place. We have many stories, and within the literary production of black women, there are many angles, points of view, and let's say, standpoint perspectives.
Elas contam muito a história.
These women tell Brazil's story, but their voices were not listened to. But there is a huge strength of the black movement and black women. They are in a context in which they suffer from both oppressions, misogyny and racism, since they are the basis of the pyramid. Therefore, the silence about their art is the portrait of a structure where all of our references are white and male.
Despite all the difficulties imposed on them, projects created by black women have strengthened these productions and echoed their voices through writing. That's the case of Sarau das Pretas, which can be roughly translated as Black Women Cultural Gathering in São Paulo State, and the project Reading Black Women developed in Bahia State.
It's precisely in order to have the opportunity to know other stories and create new and positive landscapes that tell the real history. Landscapes where there is room for royalty, dignity, and black female resistance.
The recipe we are going to show now is just perfect for you. As usual, it's cheap and easy to prepare.
Today's recipe follows the idea of doing a lot with a little, using everything and wasting nothing. I will use stale rice to prepare the filling for this omelette here. Delicious. To make the rice fluffy like this, use your hands. Braise parsley stems and green onion using 2 tablespoons of butter and a non-stick skillet. Add the stale rice and braise it. When rice cools, it tends to become harder. Therefore, you must braise the rice and add water in order to have soft and tasty rice to use in the recipe. We will let the rice heat up until all the water we added dries. Then it is ready to go into the omelette. Add parsley, green onion, and hot pepper. Mix everything and put in a bowl. In another bowl, whip the eggs with a pinch of salt and black pepper. Using that same skillet, add 2 tablespoons of butter and let it melt. Then add the beaten eggs. On low heat, mix the eggs by pulling from the edges to the middle with a spatula, forming a thick layer of eggs. Then you're gonna loosen the edges slightly. Add the rice in the middle of the eggs. Also add grated cheese and close the omelette. Flip the omelette if you know how to do so.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We will see you next week.